Okay, call meeting order, please.
John Bartlesmeyer.
Here.
Jim Hewens.
Here.
Dave Elliott. Kirk Hart.
Here.
Brian Holt.
Here.
Robert Nelson.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Comments from the public? Jack?
I'm up.
You're up.
I thought we were going in ascending order.
Well, I have some comments from the chair in your second, so that's it.
Thank you, Josh. We're back. We told you in late last year that we were delighted to be here. And we probably agreed with some things. And that we would look at this in more depth. We got really deep and girthy. And we decided we're back. I think everybody in this august body knows that we now have a presence in historic downtown Fort Scott.
Fine.
And we're very proud of what we've presented. We had a great launch during Good Old Days. We're going to be around for the all-school reunion. You know, what's interesting about this town, if you invite 10 people that went to the high school, you get about 7.5 of them that also went to the college. So it's pretty good odds for a twofer. And we're playing those odds. I want to preface anything that I say with this. Nothing in my text or my comments or my inflections are intended to be implicative, negative, antagonistic, accusatory. Let's strike all those out of there. If something hits you like that, then I can't be responsible or answer for that. What I will do is sit down with you privately and we'll go through it. What a concept. What John and I did. We'll probably do it again, I hope. I'm available for anybody, anytime that you want to go through this. I really am. I think you'll be pleased with what we've got to say. We're for real. We've applied for 501c3 not-for-profit status. We've engaged an accounting firm in Nashville, Tennessee that's been doing it for 27 years. They've done over 23,000 of them, and they're 23,000 and up. So the first thing we wanted to do was get this done right. And that's what we're in the process of doing. We work our way through that weekly. Rather than hand out some prepared statements and all that, I did that last night. That's part of my history as a lobbyist on different levels. It's usually to assist the committee members to go back and review what we said. But I think we all know what we're talking about here. So I'm not going to waste the time, kill a tree, and ask that you log anything like that. I am going to go through my notes because I want to make sure that I make the points that I think are very important to make. But before I do, if you're a fan of social media or not, that's one of the things we're getting pretty familiar with. Someone handed me during Good Old Days an article, call it a op-ed, whatever, with the Tribune, in May 4, 1974. One of our former players, Tommy Raymond, wrote this. He was going through some tough times. I've stayed very close to Tommy for 50-something years. We talk almost weekly, and that's been going on for 50-something years. I'm immensely proud and grateful to call him my friend and my teammate. By the way, he couldn't have been my friend unless he wasn't my teammate first. And that's our buzz term. We don't have members in the Greyhound Football Legacy Center. We have teammates. What a concept. It's a pretty good path to pursue. I would encourage anybody that was trying to bring people together and generate some cohesive energy, you adopt a teammate concept. So I'm going to go down my list. Oh, again, one more piece of business. I want to congratulate Justin Miles. You guys know Justin? He just graduated, played football at Fort Scott High School. He just committed to Independence Community College. That's, I think that's ironic. I'll let you ponder that one. We'll scratch thanks off the list because I mean, thank you. I'm always pleased and honored. Here, John.
How long is this gonna take?
I'll get to it real quick.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Are we dragging here?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pick it up.
Okay,
It's important stuff.
thank you.
Perhaps we can push something else back a few minutes. We're here for a kind of an unfortunate, sad request. There is no football left on campus. There's just not. Let's be honest about that. We just simply want some items that we feel rightfully belong to the community, the players, the band members, thousands of kids in Fort Scott that grew up just thinking, God, I can't wait till Saturday and stand outside for 2 hours and freeze to get in and see a coin toss. That's what it comes down to. All we want to do is display prominently. We don't want to store. We don't want to divest the items that really matter to people that love this program and coveted this college. We're talking lockers, helmets, uniforms, trophies, awards, film, pictures, band uniforms. Reference to the lockers, I was so pleased to give a significant donation 14, 15 years ago when they asked for help to fund these lockers. And I dedicated 3 of my teammates, one of which is no longer with us. Happened to be an All-American, very significant in the community and on the field. So I have some personal feelings about those lockers, and I'll get into that a little bit further. We'd also like to create a home for all the Football Hall of Fame inductees. You know, when you had the banquet a few weeks ago, and I'd be less than honest, and I'm always going to be honest with you. When you honor a guy we all love and have since we were kids, Bob Shores, people made a really extraordinary effort to get back here. One guy, he drove, he's not the best of health, 1,400 miles, and he happens to be an inductee, a member of the Hall of Fame. It would have been nice if someone would have said, hey, by the way, we've got other Hall of Fame members here. Why don't you stand up, take a bow, or let us acknowledge you? That didn't happen. Maybe an oversight. I would encourage you to revisit that agenda and not do that in the future. One of the ironies is the last football player inducted at the Hall of Fame was 11 years ago. I find that really hard to believe. Obviously, there hasn't been a priority in football for much longer than I realized, and I'm guilty of that. That's on me. And yet the presenter who acknowledged Coach Shores and made eloquent remarks on his behalf was also presenting his daughter as an inductee. I wonder how he'd feel 11 years from now if she attended a banquet and someone failed to ask her to stand up and be acknowledged. Just a little courtesy. That's all we're asking. Don't feel like you're being scolded. That's not it. If you do, get with me later. I'll put it all in perspective for you. I'm a member of the Hall of Fame. Ironically, as a run, I was the first guy on the 70 championship to be inducted. That's just a matter of the calendar, not talent. But it matters. Believe me, it matters. By the way, I've never been invited back to a Hall of Fame banquet. Never. And I find that ironic. We need to do better. Let me recap real quick. We should have been here 25 years ago. We're here now, and we'll be here 25 years from now. If we never play another down of football, and that's the word on the street, we're never going to be allowed to play another down of football. We're going to be here. Somebody is going to carry this thing forward. It's a cool little center. is quickly becoming a neat little stop in historic downtown to come by and enjoy some yesteryear and folklore, some of which is very current. It's about much more than football. Always has been, but shame on guys like me, because I sat back and let other things eclipse or usurp it. And we're not going to do that again. It's been incredibly important to the community and the college. I've done a little research in my post-retirement haste. I've run into 2, maybe 3 studies now that unequivocally say a campus of this character and nature without football is much less symmetrical. They state that college athletic success, particularly football, is linked to overall increases in donations, student applications, enrollments, and student quality. Additionally, they go on to say, administrative leaders cite football as a key way to build campus community, stoke school spirit, and create a unique institutional identity. For example, they say, by lowering drug use, improving academic performance, and helping more students pursue and finish their degrees. That's a pretty impressive endorsement. That's not me. That's not a bunch of old ball players. That's the world of academia. It might be, by the way, it's not all about football. They're addressing the part that's relative to football. So I'll leave you with this. We're asking for the things that we believe belong to the community. They belong to the players, the band members, the alumni, the youth of the past, today, and in the future. We wish that young man a lot of luck and success over Montgomery County. I'm less than honest unless I say again, was that necessary? Did it really have to be that way? That might be at first. So I'm going to ask you to deliberate long and deeply. I'm available for questions. If you make that decision tonight, we're poised to accept anything you decide, and we'll go about our business accordingly. If you want to talk about this later tonight or at a later date, I'm available. I'm practically living here. And by the way, I'm having a great time. Should have been done years ago. We're asking for these things. They don't belong in storage. They don't belong in a random corner of a campus building. They belong somewhere that everybody that earned them, enjoyed them, paid the price for them, get to see them, put their hands on them, and revel in them. And I think we have the perfect forum for that. Period. Those are my comments. Any questions? Now or later. Believe me, I'm available.
Have any questions?
You have a center downtown, right on Main Street.
Yes, sir.
I haven't been into it, but I know where it's at. So do you have a presence there, like 8 to 5, or is it just on the holidays, or what's your presence?
No, it's evolving. We did what we could as quickly as we could. One, we had to get the space.
Okay.
Never dreamt we could be downtown on those historic brick streets. It played out beautifully for us, and we really muscled up.
Well, I think one of the things is the football program, the alumni hasn't been involved, and that could be the college's fault. I'm not saying whatever, but as alumni, this is an alumni group. So we have to be adhered to the taxpayers also. You know, I understand. I grew up Friday night, but that was their social aspect. And I'm still upset with my high school alumni because they gave away all the trophies, and I have no idea where my senior trophy is at that we went 8-0. I absolutely do not know where it's at. And even though our school unified, we still should have had a presence. We should have had those. We have a presence where our alumni meets every year, either there or in the consolidated school. We should have had some kind of presence. And I'm still pissed off at that because we went 8-0, and I'm the only living senior that's left on that team. They're all passed away. I'd just like to have a picture of it.
Yeah.
So, but it all comes down to money. You know, so to run these programs and I don't know. I appreciate what you're trying to do and the people behind it, but we have to have some money to run these programs.
Totally understood. Completely relate to your experience there. That's regrettable.
Yeah.
It really is. As far as the money, we've not, when I was here last time, we offered possibly to put together a focus group, nothing obligatory. I don't even care if we take minutes. Let's all huddle as teammates and let's talk about it. Because I'll say this, whatever numbers you're dealing with, whatever sources you've got, I know those numbers and I know those sources. I'm not without my own research. I've dealt a little bit in finance. I've built a couple of businesses. Businesses aren't created equal. There are business owners and there's business people. And there's a big difference. It took most of my life to become something other than a business owner. I had to become a business person. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of risk. That's a lot of debt. Paid everybody else in the world, hoping when that was all done, there was something left over for me. Thank the good Lord, it worked out that way. We're going to be okay. Now I just got to make sure I don't outlive my money. As far as the numbers that go into this, you bring me 10 examples and I'll bring you 14 answers. That's what happens with numbers. Numbers are subjective. They aren't black and white. 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. It doesn't work that way. And I can prove it to you. But if you'll sit down with people who would like to examine it from other than just one direction, sometimes you'll be amazed at what you might find or discover.
Jack, we're gonna run out of time.
Thank you.
Yep.
By the way, if you ever want to read this, come on down to the center, it's available, or I'll make it available to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris? Or good.
Yeah, Chris Nigarelli. Appreciate the opportunity to come and introduce Brian Brunk. So Brian Brunk is the Kansas CDL examiner extraordinaire. And we've met with him. Last time I was here, we talked about a CDL program and bringing it back. I told you that I've been in contact with him. And since then, Alicia and Adam and I have met with him. And then I spent a week in training to be a CDL examiner, and Brian and his team did an outstanding job with that. I walked in the room thinking I'm in the wrong place. There's a lot of information. We got a 3-ring binder and took a test and did some exams ourselves. But their crew does a great job. Their team preparing. And so we've asked him to come and talk about the importance of the CDL, the third-party testing, which we've talked about, which allows us the opportunity for a student that comes in and starts our program. One of our trainers will also be able to give them the exam. And there's guidelines to go with that. But to talk about that and just the opportunities that there are with the CDL program. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brian Brunk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone look all the pumpkins. Everybody all right? Hey, let's look at it like this. I'm here to help you. People are like, what? Yeah, I'm here to help you. Fort Scott had a CDL program in the past that for some reason shut down. I don't know. I wouldn't even hear that. But my title is State Jurisdiction Administrator for the state of Kansas. I am the CDL coordinator for the state of Kansas. So every CDL program that's actually ran through Kansas come through me. I'm also the actual overseer of third-party operations. I think personally, it would be fantastic for you all to have a CDL program in Pittsburgh as well as affiliated with the college here. I think it'd be great. Let me give you some insight why I feel it'd be great. First of all, at this time, there's no one in that area. There's no one in Pittsburgh at this time. There's no CDL third-party program anywhere in this southern region. You need one. Another thing I want you to remember this, change isn't change until you change. You have to change your way of thinking. I want you guys to actually take the time and kind of consider this for me. Consider what this program has to offer to the college and to the community. It's very important to me for the simple fact, as bad as we need truckers now across the industry and across the state, United States, why not have Fort Scott Community College represent the state of Kansas in the third party? We have met with Chris and the president. We met with them and the vice president, and it was awesome. And we went over the curriculum that's required by FMCFA. We also went over the curriculum that's required by the state of Kansas. And I feel that the numbers do add up, and the numbers will be more lucrative for this college as you move forward. The ELD program, which is the entry-level driving training program that's mandated by FMCFA, that's the Federal Motor Carrier Administration, has put a mandate out that every new driver must go through this program. Well, to make it easier for you all, I actually put a program together for you. I also presented it to you. And guess what? You don't have to reinvent the wheel now. Only thing you need to do is look at it, implement it, and let's move forward. I told Chris when I was sitting down with him, I said, these are the things I can offer you. I can offer you help in your testing. So if you get 10 applicants or more, he's already been getting phone calls and you guys haven't even advertised anything yet. Now that's crazy, but I love it. I have dealt with new programs starting from the ground up. And when individuals hear that there is a third party as well as a testing facility and a facility that would actually train an individual properly and get them out into the real world, I guarantee you numbers begin to show you will not have enough instructors to actually hold this down. You're going to need to hire some more. I promise you. What we want to do here with Kansas is support you in any way possible. So what we're going to do, if you get 10 applicants or more, I'm going to bring my staff down and they're going to proxy test them right there on site. They don't have to go to the DMV. We'll do that for you. If you have 15 or more, I'm not only going to bring my proxy test down, but I'm going to bring actually my temporary, we call it mobile unit, which we will actually do everything right there at the facility. And that's actually printing off their permits right there. They will see the DMV. This is how much I'm committed to this program. I'm so committed to this program that I left Texas at 6 o'clock this morning to be here at this meeting with you all this evening. That's how committed I am to your program. I'm committed that we're not only going to help the community, but open up vast areas of training to the community, to young people, young men, young women that want to actually move forward into the future. How can I help you? How can I help this program to be a success for you? That's what I'm here for. Starting off, I want to ensure that we have the right curriculum, which you have that in place already. Number two, I want to make sure you have the right facility, which you have that in place already. Advertisement is very important that you advertise. And to me, advertisement is the key fact, because once word of mouth get out and people begin to see things on social media, lives begin to change. People want to get to the program. My only concern is with you all is that you won't have enough instructors to take care of everything that's about to happen. And trust me, it happens fast. Because people want jobs, believe it or not. People want to get into the motor vehicle industry and the trucking industry. And I can't think of no place else to start than with Fort Scott Community College. I'm gonna tell you one other thing and then I'm gonna take my seat. First thing, I love the integrity of the individuals I've been working with. You have some dynamic people on this staff working. I love it. Number two, this is what I would like to do for you that I haven't told you to do yet, Mr. President. Nor have I told Chris. Jason, are we up?
I've been having trouble with the file.
Okay, buddy. What I have done for you today is that I went a little bit farther than you and I discussed last time we were together. And Chris don't even know this. But I also implemented into your program, unbeknownst to you, a school bus. So where now you can handle school bus passengers, air brake removals, 18-wheeler trucking, automatic trucking. All this has been implemented to you today. You're more than welcome. Anything I can do to help this program to be successful, I'm here for you. Chris has my number as well as you, Mr. President, and I want you to know that Chris was trying to get into my business earlier. And I told him anything we can do to help any USDs, agricultural, USDs, and third parties are my passions. If you look at behind you there on the screen, Chris, it's similar to the 18-wheeler trucking. But now we have permission, and I gave my permission to you. Now you can deal with school buses, passenger buses, anything we can do. If you can go out and get a sponsorship or other people to come in and help and work with you, you have my blessing from this day forward. Go to the next slide for me, please. If it's acting right. All right, beautiful. And I want to go all the way to the, let's go to the 13th slide, if we can. And I just want to show one thing. These are just the various little temporary tests that individuals will test when they come into the classroom, just to see where they're at. It means nothing, it's just to see, do they have a concept of driving, right there. That's your first theory curriculum dealing with school buses. You got it now. There's no turning back. Now, Fort Scott, when they sign the MOU and send it back to me, you have the right to test 18-wheelers. You have the right to test manual and automatic. You have the right to test school buses, passenger buses. You have the right, oh, that didn't give you the permissions for hazmat. They give you that. But now you have all this afforded to you. I guarantee you, if they're not knocking at the door, we have a problem with our daggone what, our tag. That's all I have for you right now. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, you said you came from Texas, but you run the Kansas CDL, or is it you do?
I was in Kansas visiting family.
Oh, you were in Texas.
Yeah, in Texas,
Oh, okay.
in Texas visiting family.
Okay,
And of course, the wife said, "You gonna stay one more day?" I said, "No, I got it.
so
I gotta get this meeting."
you actually run this whole CDL thing for the state of Kansas, is that right?
Yes, sir, I do, sir.
Okay, all right. That's one question I have for you.
It's a busy day.
All right.
I thank you for having me and thank you for inviting me. Have a great
I
day.
do have
Yes,
just a
sir.
question. The people in Fort Scott or Southeast Kansas, where would they have to go now to get a CDL?
Now they have to either go to Chanute or they have to go up to Topeka,
Okay,
and some of them even go up to Seneca. That's a long way
To test.
to test. That's just a test, a physical exam test, a pre-trip, basic skills course, and road test. That's a long way to do that.
so they have to make an appointment to take that test.
Yes, sir.
And how far out is that appointment?
For them up there,
Yeah,
oh, sir, right now, some of them are out all the way till the end of July.
so, okay.
Yes, sir. And then the rest of them are out,
So if,
mid-July. something like
so
that.
if Uniontown waters the school bus drivers now,
I like where your head's at. Keep going.
once the school bus drivers now, they basically couldn't get them by the start of the school year, more than
Yes.
likely,
That's correct.
because they couldn't get them tested,
That's
even
correct.
though they're qualified.
Now, let's flip the script on that real quick. Let's flip the script. If Fort Scott come on board and do what I hope they're gonna do, you can help them.
Okay,
because I just gave you my permission.
Well, that's what I want to hear.
I love you. Don't make me come over and give you a hug. Anyone else? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. Thank you to Brian, who, like he said, he does run CDL for the state of Kansas. And so now we will have an MOU where we will be a third-party testing site. We very much appreciate his expertise, his ability to come down, and his willingness, I should say, to work with us. The difference is that now, as he mentioned, the federal government said you do have to have what they call entry-level driver training, which with theory and behind the wheel, and that started in February, which kind of got us back into the training. It will not be for credit training. It will be business and industry training that we don't get money from the state for. We have worked on this diligently, and I greatly appreciate Chris Mingarelli and Dr. Borth. We're hopeful that we may get some congressionally directed money. We have a request in to Senator Moran to buy trucks and trailers. We also, I visited with the Department of Commerce last week, and we're looking for an MOU where they would also kick in some money for businesses that are training people. There's a huge need, as you all know, for CDL instructors. And so we hope to fill that gap. And we knew that being a third-party testing site was critical to making this a success. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate you driving up from Texas and being here tonight. So thank you. It's something we are going to do.
Okay, consent agenda, approval of the agenda, approval of minutes of the previous meetings, attached are the minutes of the board training, a regular board meeting conducted on May 16, 2022. Approval of treasurer's report, bills and claims, attached are the treasurer's report and the bills and claims report. Approval of personnel actions, additions, Blake Cochran, men's basketball head coach, effective June 1st, 2022. Courtney Madison, cosmetology instructor, effective June 13th, 2022. Alexandria Murillo, assistant cheer coach, effective July 1st, 2022. Mitch McMullen, men's basketball assistant coach, effective July 1st, 2022. Tyler Long, men's basketball assistant coach, effective July 1st, 2022. Rebecca Clay, trio database manager, effective July 6th, 2022. Doug Hurd, business instructor, effective August 9th, 2022. Savannah Ashmore, math instructor, effective August 9th, 2022. Separations, Michael Cook, men's basketball head coach, effective July 1st, 2022. Jordan Andrews, men's basketball assistant coach, effective May 9th, 2022. Demetrius Walker, men's basketball assistant coach, effective June 28th, 2022. Cassie Fugate, Kate, director of strategic operations, and effective June 30th, 2022. Jordan Howard, director of nursing, effective July 8th, 2022. Transfers, Allie Burkett from payroll financial aid specialist to assist to the president payroll specialist. Approval of Gordon Parks Museum Board actions, additions, Becky Turtelot, effective June 14th, 2022. And separations, Letitia Kelly Cook, effective June 14th, 2022. It is recommended that the consent agenda items be approved as presented. I will entertain. Oh,
Mr. Chairman, I have an addition to add to the action item. This will be action item 4, consideration of gym floor resurface and repair bids. So I present that as a motion for item.
an addition R.
Motion
Okay.
R.
Yeah, let's vote on the consent agenda and then we'll do that. Okay, Robert? Okay, all right. It is recommended that consent agenda items be approved as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just the only discussion I have is, I know we had some longtime instructors, looks like we replaced a couple of them. Do we have all the instructors replaced that retired last spring? How's that coming along?
No.
The two that retired, yes. But not all the instructors replaced that left last spring.
Okay. Music instructor? Am I,
We have interviews tomorrow.
okay, okay. Interview coming up. Okay.
Yes.
I know there's some significant separations here, like the director of nursing and Michael Cook and yeah, there's significant departures here, so. But yeah, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second? Okay, it's moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Bartle, excuse me, Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Now.
Item R. This is in addition to the agenda, consideration of gym floor resurface and repair. This would be item R.
I think you have to vote on that.
Okay, all right.
Motion to accept this.
I'm adding item R to the agenda.
Yes.
Item R. Okay. Okay. Is- do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote to add item R to the agenda?
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes.
Let's see. Mr. Chairman, I move that we move to executive session for 15 minutes. Consultation with an attorney for a public body agency would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship. Move that we move to executive session.
Second
15
that.
minutes. Yours is a motion.
Mine is motion.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Action afterwards or not?
No action.
No action. And did you say 15 seconds or 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Okay.
And this will include board, our attorney, and president. No, okay.
Okay, Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yeah.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott, I'm sorry,
Yes.
I forgot which one I was pausing on.
You can call.
Hewens,
Yeah.
sorry, Jim.
Make it 6:15 right now, so we'll come back in at 6:30. Okay?
You're just gonna see it's not really lit. But that sounds like a hearing. Well,
I'll be around. They might have.
Well, when you want to know. I know. I told you. Well, I guess I'll.
Chairman, I move that we go back to regular session.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we go back into open session. Now, Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens.
Yes. Okay. Item A, consideration of.
Should say
property. Okay.
What's that?
It's anyway, consideration of property casualty auto excess liability insurance. Property insurance has been a topic of discussion at both residents and financial officers meetings since last fall with the increased cost of insurance among community colleges. Based on the discussions, Fort Scott Community College felt our best opportunity for pricing would be through a consortium/group coverage. Contact was made with the following to ask their interest in submitting a proposal for our July 1st, 2022 renewal. Consortium Group, the Midwest Higher Education Compact, MAGC, agent is IMA, and the Kansas Education Risk Management Pool, KERMP, agent is CBIZ. MAGC and KERMP have each submitted proposal that includes deductibles, coverage, and pricing, which is summarized below with detail in the following pages. Each agent has been given the opportunity to attend and answer questions if they so choose.
We do have Tom
Okay.
is here from KERMP to answer questions.
Everybody's favorite topic. Insurance. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about our proposal. I'll give a brief overview. We started this pool in 2015. It started as a K through 12 public school district pool in the state of Kansas. About last July, well, a little before last July 1, we decided that there was a need for it to expand into the community college space. So that's when we did that. So we've been doing community colleges, insuring community colleges for just over a year. We have 4 to 6 that are already members through that first year.
Say it again, please.
Sorry. Yeah, we started this pool in 2015. It was started and focused on K through 12 public schools in the state of Kansas. Upon seeing a need to expand that into community colleges to help that space, we did so just before July 1 of last year. So we've been doing this for just over a year with the community college space.
Thank you.
So how many schools are you insuring?
So our total client membership in this particular pool in the state of Kansas, including community colleges, is just over 90. Yeah.
Julie, do you have anything to add or help us out?
Well, as far as how the process worked, we gave both agents the same property listing, as far as covered properties. Gave them the same deductibles as what we have been using and coverages as we have been using. So they worked on a as even playing field as you can get it at that point. They had the ability to ask questions. Tom has been easy to work with, as well as Tyler, either one of them. You can tell there's quite a difference in the two quotes in pricing and that type of thing. from my community college business officers meeting, there has been a lot of talk about insurance, and there are several of them that have moved to the current I don't know what
KERMP.
Yeah,
Current.
they've moved to that. I believe Gallagher and somebody else is involved with that, and they've been writing insurance for years and years.
Yeah, so this pool was first started by insurance broker called Arthur J. Gallagher. They run 126 pools similar to this across the country. So this is something that they do on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that we were wanting to be able to address especially in the community college space, was the increase in property deductibles that we're facing community colleges, and we've done so in this program. Even though the pricing on our proposal is better, our deductibles actually are quite a bit lower on the property, and we're adding some additional coverages in that you don't currently already have, including increasing your limit on cyber liability, which has obviously been a hot topic across the country. So we feel like we're well positioned, both pricing and in terms and conditions that we offer for staff.
As far as the business officers, many of them have moved from the MEC program, which is part of what IMA offers as a broker, because it has gotten so expensive with, and they don't have the loss pool there to cover some of the losses, and that's how we ended up with an additional charge last year. Tom, if you'll go ahead and explain about your loss pool that you have covered and.
Yes, so, right, perfect. Thank you. Our goal with this pool is to take on a self-insured retention within the pool, so deductible within the pool, and move the insurance carriers up further away from paying low dollar claims. And so by doing that, we have a third-party actuary that sets the loss funds for us, meaning the funds that the pool is going to use to pay those larger deductibles. The other thing that we do that's unique is that we are not, if there's any profit left over in those loss funds, we are returning it to the membership. So we are not keeping any of the profits that are left over in the loss fund. So the last 2 years, we've had over $1 million. We've had good years, over $1 million left each year. So that will be returned to the membership. In 6 of the 7 years, we have been profitable to where membership would get a dividend. 1 year we did go in a little bit over that, but we have taken steps by buying stop loss insurance on top of the loss fund. So it almost essentially eliminates any exposure to being assessed after the fact. So we've taken that. The pools that Gallagher has set up in this fashion over the last 67 years, a total of 0 of them have been assessed. So we think we've taken that. Although we do have to legally say, because the state of Kansas tells us that it is potentially accessible, we think we've taken that down to as close to 0 as possible, since it's never happened before.
Anything else to it, or any other questions?
I had one question. Is that flood insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
So flood insurance for anything that wouldn't have to be purchased through the governmental flood plan.
Oh, okay.
Because if it's in certain zones, you have to, you have to purchase the first 500,000 within the government.
Questions? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
It has been recommended that we accept the KERMP. Kansas Education Risk Management Pool. Okay. For term. Okay, for $201,469.94. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Been moved and seconded. Julie, would you please call for the vote?
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Moving on to item B, consideration of 2022-2023 meeting dates. Dates for the 2022-23 regular monthly meetings of the Board of Trustees need to be determined. Official meeting dates for the third Monday of each month unless stated otherwise. I think these are on here. Anybody have any questions or problems with any of the dates?
There's no big changes from past years or anything like that. Pretty much the same schedule.
Okay.
It is the same schedule as last year, but because of the revenue neutral rate, that pushed everything.
Yeah.
Basically a month. So typically we would have waited till the end
Yeah,
of
the
July,
board
now we're
meetings.
waiting till the end of August. So it just kind of pushed everything.
Yeah, that's the one, August 29th, 2022, has been pushed back a week.
Yeah. So we used to have that as close as we could at the beginning of August.
Any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Item C, consideration of Kansas State Department of Education, KSDE, Migrant Education Project, state level activities for 2022-2023. KSDE has sole authority to determine a local operating agency for the administration of operation of the migrant education program and has granted this authority to Fort Scott Community College. This award is for the term of 1 year. This program and special projects continue to meet many needs and provide educational opportunities for the migrant population in the state of Kansas. As the local operating agency, Fscc retained approximately 8% administrative allowance. Administration recommends approval for continuation of the KSDE MEP special project. The final application documents are currently being finalized this month. KSDE and Fscc will receive promptly. Total budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year will not exceed $1,319,000. The 8% administration allowance will not exceed $97,000. Any discussion?
Those, the $1,319,000, that have to come through the general fund. How's grant money? So it's under migrant
It has a
grant,
separate fund.
separate fund, okay.
That's the
That's my
MEP,
question.
migrant grant program.
And our fee that we approximately get is 8%.
Yes, that's $97,000.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
And there's some.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Second.
But it's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Item D, consideration of proposed continuation agreement between Iowa Department of Education and Fort Scott Community College. Fort Scott Community College serves as the fiscal agent for 6 migrant education programs for consortium incentive grants. These programs continue to meet the many needs and provide educational opportunities for the migrant population. As the fiscal agent for these programs, Fort Scott Community College retains 8% administrative allowance. It is the recommendation of administration to approve a continuation of the proposed agreement between the IA, DOE, and FSCC from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The budget will not exceed $870,000 for the fiscal year. Fort Scott will retain 8% administrative allowance as fiscal agent, approximately $64,445. Any discussion?
How many years we've been doing this one?
Iowa, probably 5, maybe. Does that sound right, Julie? The Iowa project, I think it's about 5 or 6 years.
I think it's longer than that.
It may have been. Yeah, I bet you're right, John. It's probably closer to 8, 10.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Item E, consideration of KASB workers' compensation member participation premium agreement. Administration has received the renewal rates for the 2022-23 workers' compensation premium. For several years, Fort Scott Community College has belonged to the Kansas Association of School Board Workers Compensation Fund, which is a consortium of educational institutions pooling together to reduce the individual institutions' risk associated with workers' compensation. Workers' compensation rates are predetermined by the state of Kansas, and each employer is assessed a mod factor to determine annual premiums from these rates. The mod factor is determined by the previous 3 years' usage and claims made by each employer. A mod factor of 1.00 or less is desirable, and a mod factor greater than 1.00 results in the state's determined rates increasing proportionately. The mod factor used to determine the 2022-23 premium has increased to 1.2 as a result of dropping off of low usage year and adding a higher usage year. The annual mod factor and state determined rates can cause significant swings in premium costs from year to year. This is the second year of a 3-year agreement to participate in KASB Work Comps Fund's new loyalty credit program. The program is intended to share the fiscal success and stability of the pool with its members. Because of a highly competitive marketplace, work comp rates have been declining for several consecutive years, while work comp carrier options are increasing. This new program allows the pool to share in the fiscal strength of the KASB pool and create membership stability at the same time. Program participants agree to a 3-year coverage term and receive premium discounts of 10% in the first year, 5% in the second, and 3% in the third, resulting in member savings and fund stability. Participation in this program reduced 2022-23 premium from $64,252 to $61,039. Year 3 premiums will see a reduction of 3% in the estimated rate. It is recommended that the board approve the KASB's worker compensation member participation premium agreement. Any discussion?
Well, I see their mod factors up over 1, which is the first time in 7 years. But it's not near what the highest mod factor in like 14 and 15 is like 2.1. So I'm assuming we've had some claims this year or in the past year.
Well, Julie McDaniel can speak to that. We have, yes, we've had some claims, but honestly, overall, we average out pretty well. We did have is that on here yet? Case we had. Is that figured in there?
Yes, the medical, but any attorney fees will never hit this premium. That's what she told me.
We
So
had-
this is the year that the medical from that case did this.
We had a case brought against workman's comp that we had mold in the workplace that was causing hazardous health.
Okay.
That was, they
Okay.
lost the case. However,
So we had legal fees.
we have fees that will be charged back to us from the Kansas Workers' Compensation.
Okay.
And so
I-
because of that,
Yeah.
this year and next year, it will increase our mod factor, even though we won the case. It was appealed and we won.
Okay,
That.
I remember that now. Okay.
And they base that mod factor on a 3-year look period. So
Mhm.
every year we move up a year. This happens to be the first year in a number of years. But
Yeah.
the year we bring on, it is a higher usage year at the same time that the year we're
Yeah,
dropping
I'm
off.
very
add-on
familiar with
staffing.
Workman's comp. Unfortunately.
It is recommended that the board approve the KASB's workers' compensation member participation premium agreement. Are there any more questions or points of discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott.
It's not
I know, but I say his name every time
Okay.
because I have to.
Okay. Item F, consideration of disposal of property. Fort Scott Community College is seeking approval for the sale of remaining usable football equipment that cannot be used by the college's existing programs. An increased number of requests have been made by other programs to purchase the equipment that is still usable, much of it with significant monetary value remaining. Helmets are in particularly high demand as they are very difficult to purchase right now due to market availability. Fort Scott Community College's helmets have 2 years remaining before expiration. An assortment of high-quality usable equipment remains and could be used to generate revenue to allow toward the outstanding athletic debt that Fort Scott Community College has carried for a number of years. Fort Scott Community College would follow statutory requirements for providing notice of items for sale. Bids would be accepted for 2 weeks, and the items would go to the highest bidder for each category of items. Equipment includes, but is not limited to, helmets, shoulder pads, 3 sets of jerseys, maroon, white, and black, pants, footballs, some new in the box, Guardian protector caps, chin straps, unopened socks, Adidas leg pads, and undershirts. A full inventory will be provided during the meeting. Do we have that?
Do you want to go ahead? And Mike,
Sure.
if they have questions.
Oh, and by the way, you're the new athletic director.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Demko.
Demko, yes, sir.
All right. Does anyone have any questions about these? Other than what is a water buffalo?
The water buffalo is it's a big drink machine basically, and it has the fountains and it's gas powered.
Oh,
Brand new, they go for about 10 grand. So they just bought one last year.
okay.
So it's fairly new. The helmets could potentially go for $450 a piece. Because Rydell or Riddle, whatever you want to call it, their helmet company is missing a particular part for their helmet. So they're on back order. So I've gotten a lot of calls for the helmets. Gotten a lot of call for the practice pads, tackling dummies, sleds, all of those. I've received a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails over the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
Just because it's coming up for football season.
So the helmets, they have 2 years remaining before expiration. In other
Yeah.
words, they have to be replaced.
Yeah, they have to get refurbished every 2 years.
Okay.
And if they're not refurbished, then they're worthless.
Ineligible to, be or not
Yeah.
available to use. Okay.
Give a ballpark figure about what this is.
I've gotten some. Some
Potentially.
people have offered like 45 grand for the helmets alone. They've also talked about the water buffalo and other things. Potentially could be 100. I don't know, in the ballpark. The helmets alone are the big thing. People are needing helmets because they don't have helmets right now. They can't order helmets.
You know a lot.
And a lot of people will use the practice jerseys and everything else too. I mean, obviously the regular jerseys, probably not, but there's white and black practice jerseys. There's a maroon practice jersey.
cutoff socks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff down there. The unopened footballs are about $100 a piece because they're NCAA or NGCA footballs. So they're about $100 a piece that are brand new. We have about 20 of them sitting in a box. And obviously, if we don't move this stuff, it's just going to get dusty and it's not going to sell.
Sure.
So
Okay. Any more questions for Luke?
Does any of this stuff fall into the next item with the Legacy Center?
Well, I was going to mention to Jack and some of his friends, if they want to, purchase any of these pieces, if we decide to sell them there, I'm sure there's some way. If you get a bid on something for, let's say it's $100, and your group wanted to buy a helmet or something, I mean, it would be, I suppose, available.
Well, whatever the bidding process is, we'll sure look at it. Yeah. Problem is, John, we never had plans to field a team next fall anyway.
True.
Nobody wants a bunch of expired helmets.
Well, that's right. That's why.
So, I mean, there's no, hey, it'd be nice to have a handful for our purposes, but we're not gonna use them to fill the team.
No, what I'm talking about, if you want something for display, this would be a good time to maybe pick up some things if we're going to sell things. Okay, all right.
The good thing for the college students is to offer that, since it is the legacy of the college. A few of them, I'm not saying gossip, but a few of them, that would be nice. Very good gesture.
Thank you.
Relative to this category, all we're looking for is a couple of uniforms so we can display and people can enjoy them. We're not gonna take the field with them. I want the college to get all they can out of it. We support that.
Okay.
So we're not.
Okay. Thank you.
there are, if you look at the list, the white and maroon have like 93 jerseys, and then the gray has 50 or 43. So there's obviously some potentially could be gone. I don't know where they're at.
Okay.
Just wanted to throw that out there. That's why there's a discrepancy. That's why I just wanted to point that out.
You've got so much of each item. That's
Yeah,
what you've got.
it's just
That's it.
discrepancy. So I just want to point that out.
Well, I think this inventory, you've got plus or minus. And my feeling is if the legacy groups want some of this thing, 2 or 3 uniforms, I see no problem.
Whatever the board decides, I'm good with.
That's
That's political answer, but I'm good with whatever you guys want to do.
I think Jack needs to work with you probably and the president to see what we can release here. It's not like we're gonna, Jack, we're gonna charge you $450 for this helmet. I think we could give up a helmet or 2.
We can probably make that decision with our next item of, on the board.
Oh, okay.
on the agenda.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Okay.
I'm willing to do whatever the board says.
Okay. Thanks, Luke. Any more questions or comments?
I told John that I would speak to this a little bit. We still owe $177,000 in the football debt that we took on in 2014. Any money that we raise here will be applied to that football debt. Right now, every student here pays $1 per credit hour in fees to apply to that debt. So let's say we get $100,000 out of the equipment. Then we would have $77,000 left. As soon as that debt goes to zero, that $1 fee that every student pays will be removed. So if you took 15 credit hours a semester, it costs you $15 a semester that applies to that. So that $1 will come off once we reach that 177,000, which is what we still left. We have still left to pay on that. I think that went on in 2014. Right before we got here.
I have a question.
Is the $177,000 in debt, is that in the budget? Was that budgeted?
Yes, it's carried forward from a debt that was originally close to $500,000 for the foundation.
And And for how many years was it carried forward?
2014. It's been being paid on since then.
So we're paying on it.
The students pay on it. The students pay $1 per credit hour. And that's applied to that debt, which is now down to 177. To be honest with you, I can't recall what it started out as, but it was close to $500,000. Maybe not that much. I can't recall.
Okay, all right, whatever it is, it is.
It was here when I got here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, it is recommended that the board approve disposal of usable football equipment in the manner outlined above. Is there any more, are there any more questions? Then I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion. Because, you know, this is basically not, it's not gonna be usable to us.
That's right. One second. It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Fewens,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Item G, consideration of request of legacy football. The board will consider comments by the legacy football group who has scheduled to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there any discussion?
Well, back to the,
Mhm.
what we were discussing, I think the athletic director, the president, people involved, need to sit down with Jack or a group from the legacy and see what we can donate to.
Off this list, or
Well,
Yes, off the list of these pieces, is that what you're
yeah, it
talking
could be
about?
off this list here. Now, lockers, I have no idea what's involved with lockers. I don't know what,
Well, the lockers belong to the college,
yeah.
and so does really all of the other paraphernalia.
Yeah, well, I think you just need, as a group, sit down and talk to each other about what's available. What can be made available, if that makes sense.
By the way, we're looking at a loan situation. We're not out to hold title to any assets. We're out to make it available to the community and alumni. And if the college needs a trophy back, it's 52 years old, and they're certainly entitled to it. Otherwise, we'll make room.
Do we want to modify this and say the board will consider comments by the legacy football group who is scheduled to speak during the public comment? And then say any pieces on the list of sellable football items that the AD gave us could be donated in moderation. I mean, you can't just say, yeah, I want 50 helmets or something like that.
I mean, realistically.
Right. Does that sound okay? I'm just putting it out there. You know, if anybody wants to add anything or take anything off of that, just tell me. I think it should be
Yeah.
items on this
Yeah.
list.
Okay, I'd say at this point, let's go on this list.
But they're asking for more things than what's on this list.
I realize that, and I'm
Okay.
saying that if they want to do something, then this is the list of items that they could ask to be donated.
Can we get some clarity? We're not asking for donations. Can we get clarity on the lockers? That was the first thing that we.
The lockers belong to the college.
Okay. And can I ask what you're gonna do with 15-year-old lockers at a community college that no longer plays football?
We've been actually discussing items to be displayed in a room in the Fine Arts Center. And it's possible that those could be in there.
the lockers though would be used for track. I mean,
Or
the previous ADs not here, maybe the current AD can speak to that. I'm pretty sure the lockers will be used by track.
Yeah,
they're being used.
track is gonna move down into the locker rooms. They're bringing in 80 people. So they don't even have enough room in there as it is, but they're bringing in 80 people, so that's the biggest spot we can get to them.
Okay.
So they'll be,
I just want to point out There's been donors, including myself 14 years ago, contributed a sizable amount so we could purchase, the school could purchase those lockers. Technically, it belongs to the school. I'm not convinced the state of Kansas is overly concerned about 15-year-old lockers in storage that aren't being used for football, which they were appropriated and acquired for. Just saying, there's a better use than that.
I understand.
A track athlete doesn't need a football locker.
I understand what you're saying, Jack. And we appreciate that you donate some money to do those. And I'm sure you probably had a tax advantage for doing donations.
No, I didn't take a bit.
Okay. I still gonna say the locker is gonna belong to the college. And if anybody wants to change anything, I think we just need to make a part of this items G, anything on this list that they've given us, that some things could be donated to the legacy football group. Does that sound reasonable? Or if anybody wants to add or take anything off that.
I would like to see the opportunity for them to get things that aren't being utilized. I mean, things are in storage. There's no reason that they can be loaned, and displayed downtown. I mean, I think that would be a nice thing.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Are we to vote on this tonight? Is that a must? To vote on this?
No, there's a couple options here. Let me just interject. You can table this and we could get a very specific, because we didn't know exactly what you're asking for. We could get a specific request about these are the actual things you want. Now, we are looking at putting together a room that would display a lot of things. Remember that we have a lot of programs that are not here anymore. Debate, forensics, band, wrestling, horse judging, equestrian riding. We have memorabilia for many, many programs, not just football. So do we have things in storage? We have a ton of stuff in storage. Would we like to display that? Yes, we would, and we've been talking about that. Obviously, this legacy group brought that to the forefront in terms of what do we need to do to appropriately display the things that, like Jack said, people have contributed to through the fact that they played on the team, they were in the band. We have academic challenge that we don't have anymore. They won many trophies. So, but those things belong to, obviously, everybody. That's how it works when you're a public entity. There's no specific person that belongs to. If we decide to not do this tonight, we can table this. We can ask for a specific list of things that they may want, and we can bring that back to the board, and you can look at the specific requirement.
Well, I feel more comfortable when we get because what we do normally is a recommendation from the administration that we vote on these particular items. I think that will be the most appropriate thing to do, rather than us deciding what needs to be done. Because I think the legacy group needs to meet with the president, the athletic director, and come up with a specific list of items which the administration would recommend that we vote on, rather than us trying to do it ourselves. That would be my recommendation.
I can tell you, I did send to you all what KASB said, which is, of course, that is the attorneys that we use out there, which is with KASB, that know school law. Basically, what we would need to do would be, according to them, it is a board decision, whatever, as I said, whatever you guys wanted to do. One of the things that you could do would be to sign an MOU So a memorandum of understanding that says, you know, I'm going to loan you these things for display. You know, if something happens to them, you know, in terms of whether they are stolen or there's a fire, or a tornado or whatever, then, you know, who's the responsible party? So with that MOU, you would have to have at least some sort, you have to have an inventory and you have to know the value of those items. Because if they're not in our possession, then who's going to insure the value of the items, that kind of thing, which most of them wouldn't have much monetary value. Most of them have more sentimental value than they do monetary. The other thing in the MOU, this is just me thinking about it, well, then the other thing in the MOU would have to have timelines. You know, you don't have this stuff indefinitely. And we're open, you know, 8 to 5, whatever, most times. So people, if they want to stop by here, they could see it anytime. I mean, I think that we clarified that earlier in terms of when's the opportunity to really view this? The opportunities here to view it, obviously, are much greater because we're open all the time. It's this consideration, and it's something that I have to think about when I'm looking at putting these things together and how this would work. But we can kick it down the road, we can table it, we can come up, we can meet, we can come up with a very specific, because if it is an MOU where we loan it, which is what they're saying, right? We don't loan, then there would be very specific, obviously, you know, details about how that loan would work, who's responsible for it, what happens, who insures it, those kinds of things that we do with any kind of memorandum of understanding that we would have.
Right, some of us have been down that path before. We'd obviously indemnify you, we'd insure it. We'd have to meet and come up to a value. So there's a value of variable that we need to agree on. I don't think you'll find anybody that would be.
But that would be we would have to provide you with all of those things after we determine what it is you're really looking for.
Right, and by the way, one of the things I discussed with Tom Hammond is, and he was kind enough to give me a little tour downstairs with some storage space, and I appreciated that. There's a lot of things down there nobody knows. I don't believe anybody in this room knows what's down there. Absolutely. So if you get busy doing an inventory, I'd love for you to share it with. Some of those things may not matter. Some things are really special. If you're talking about a 70 championship trophy, if you're talking about Hall of Fame plaques that apparently no longer apply, you're talking about Hosey Moss awards, things like that, matters of humanistic integrity and value, that all matters. And we're not out to own it, we're out to share it, but we'll sure insure it so that it gets the best possible view and gives the most enjoyment to whoever has an interest in it.
And to Jack's point, I mean, I think that's all of our points, is to share this. It doesn't have to be, I mean, we can share it. We are open to share those things. Can we also allow them to share some things? That's up to the board. That's literally up to the board, but it has to be a very specific, it can't just be this sort of open-ended, you know, according to KASB, it has to be a very specific thing, because it still does belong to this public entity that still has the ability and the right to display that. Are we going to share that ability with somebody else? That is entirely up to the board. If you feel that that's appropriate, based on, like he said, now it sounds like Jack and them have already been through all this stuff. So maybe you already have a good idea about those specific items that you would want to have on loan.
Well,
and if that's the case, we would get an inventory.
We haven't been through that. We haven't been allowed to go through it. We've offered to. It'd be nice to know what's there, because again, some things will
I'm
have
sorry, I
value.
thought you said Tom did allow you to go through it.
Well, he took me down and showed me the lockers. I got a chance to take pictures, the ones that I purchased. and
Because
share.
there's more than just football that we have in storage, obviously, memorabilia.
So are you also saying that anything on that list is for sale? There is nothing on that list that you were going to maintain for your display? Or has that been decided?
No, we own it, so if we want to keep it, we can keep it, we don't have to, we're not, yeah, if we want to keep, which we plan, we have uniforms from way back, this is the current stuff.
Okay,
what we're talking.
You're talking about this.
okay, well, we haven't seen the list, so I don't know, but,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
I didn't know what was on.
This list is what is currently available for
Okay.
use. Now, obviously, we have old things that are
Okay.
not for sale. I think those old things are more probably what we're talking about. I don't know really that you would want stuff off this list. Would you maybe want to display older, sort of what I would refer to as memorabilia?
Sure.
I don't,
The
I
vintage
don't know.
stuff, the golden stuff, that all has a tremendous value to people that care about the newer stuff. And again, we're not out to equip a locker room or a football program. We're out to display, share, lament a bit, and move forward.
I just know with the new equipment, we need to, if we're gonna make a decision, we're gonna have to do it because football season's coming up, and if we wanna sell it, it's gotta be sooner than later. That's why I was deep down in the dungeon over there and getting sweaty and counting all this stuff for the meeting. So,
We would have given an inventory ahead of time, had we had one.
Yeah,
I thought we
there's
had, I asked for one last fall.
that's what-
And I supposedly we had one, but it somehow disappeared. I don't know the story. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that what happened then is when I said, I want to see the inventory, is that all of a sudden, Mr. Demko had to go back and do it. We do not have an inventory of memorabilia of football, of wrestling, of debate, of forensics, and the list goes on and on and on. I don't, when you say we don't know, that's a true statement. We don't know all the memorabilia that we have. We have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. Like I said, it is not specific to the football program, the memorabilia that we have. Yes, we have memorabilia for football. We also have a ton of stuff that would be very nice to display from many other things. We don't have the room to display everything, nor with any place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, just, just sort of the nature of what
I
it is.
know when we finished the rodeo building over here, they have a large display case and we spent hours
We still don't have it all displayed.
Yeah.
We have just, we
pulling
have
stuff
trophies
out of
from-
boxes. And I had Gary Harvey in here going through stuff. So,
We
yeah,
have
we
tons
got
and
stuff.
tons and tons of
Yeah.
memorabilia. We have memorabilia that's busted up into pieces. You can imagine how trophies get over the years. We have stuff.
Yeah.
We would love to assist you with that part of it relative to football. I'll say this, I'm absolutely convinced those things that apply to what we're asking for, to borrow and indemnify, will bring much more interest for people coming home to our place than it will be your place. And by the way, your place is my place.
Well, I hope so, because that, this is open to the public. This is anybody that wants to step foot on here, they own this place. Everybody owns this place.
As we are. Absolutely.
Well-
And by the way, for the very
Broken
reason,
all the time.
it's all been stored. And I'm not questioning that, but it sure begs the question, what's the harm of an organization like us, which wants the college to thrive?
It's like what you're gonna do.
Did we vote to let, to sell these list of saleable football items? Okay,
Yes.
that's been voted on. Okay, then let's table, item G. And, I don't know what to say as far as exactly what to do, somehow or another get.
I think Robert's suggestion was that we get together and decide what it is that we're talking about
Okay.
specifically.
See if we can get together with some administration, the athletic director, maybe a member of the board. Come up and see what, or come out and see exactly what we have. Does that sound right? I mean, that's about as broken up as I can do it, so. Does that sound okay? Table this?
Well, will the Legacy Center have a chance to see what's available? And we might pin it down to far fewer items.
I think you're gonna have to see what's available.
Yeah, I just said we need to get maybe a committee or something like,
I just
Someone-
didn't hear the Legacy Center included in that particular exercise.
okay. At least get a committee with, I said, maybe a board member, athletic director, somebody administration, and maybe a member of your group to figure out doing a inventory or something like that. I mean, how do you say? Okay,
Yes.
all right. So we're gonna table item.
I think you have to.
Make a motion.
You have to have a motion.
I would request a motion to,
I got Robert's, I need a second.
oh, Robert already said that?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved to second. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes,
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
thank you. Item H, approval of consortium memberships and dues. Following are memberships and dues for the 2022-23 academic year. It is it's recommended that the board approve memberships and dues as presented. Are there any questions? Comments?
I'm assuming the same dues are pretty much like last year, same organizations.
The ones that have the 2 asterisks.
Oh, okay.
The same.
Okay.
They're
gotcha.
it's pretty much the same due schedule, Jim.
But
There,
it has
several of them
been
have gone
updated
up.
for
I can
renewal.
assure you that most dues on there have gone up.
Yeah, if we had an invoice or some kind of documentation showing what the new premium or renewal was, then we put that in. It's the usual list of annual dues that we bring in this time of year.
2 asterisks, we don't know, this is last year.
That's last year's amount if it has 2 asterisks.
We just don't know what it is this year.
We still have a lot of things coming in, yes.
Okay. Any questions on this list?
I make a motion, we approve the renew of authority and memberships and dues.
Moved in second. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Item I, consideration of Greyhound Hall flooring bids. Fort Scott Community College strives to continue to improve on the student experience, which includes the housing available. This spring, we installed 12 mil commercial vinyl flooring in one student room of Greyhound Hall to get input on look, feel, and resiliency of the floor. The reviews were very positive. One unexpected positive that the custodians commented on was the savings it would bring in summer cleaning due to not needing to scrub and wax the floor each summer. Dorm staff and maintenance, based on the positive input on look and cleanliness, moved forward with requesting proposals for flooring of each of the student dorm rooms of the 3 floors in Greyhound Hall. The request for proposal was published in the Fort Scott Tribune and is included in the documentation following. Summary of proposals received is presented below. Jared Keelan is available to answer questions.
Jared, got a question.
Yes, sir.
The bids asked for a 12 mil.
Yes, sir.
Ruddicks has 2 bids, one for 12 mil, one for 6 mil. And SEK flooring is 12 mil, but I don't see that on the bid.
He come in at 51 and some change on his 12 mil.
Well,
We
where
called it
where does it
SEK.
say on the bid 12 mil?
On the one that you sent me this morning, that's in my email, it has it. on there, but I have personally called him in Julie's
Okay.
office there.
It
We got-
is the same
It is
as.
12 mil.
Okay.
It will be the exact same flooring as what is put in over here at the Garrison that we use. And also, we did one trial room in 309 over here. Y'all are more than welcome to go over and take a look at it anytime. I love it personally. I think it changed it a lot. I want these kids to be happy like I was when I was here and not walk in and think, oh my God, I'm in a prison cell. It completely changed it. It took out all the wardrobes.
I just want to make sure we're talking apples to apples.
Sure, yeah, I got you.
Any more questions?
Now, what we, did you guys put that in, or who put?
We put the first one in over
Okay.
there. Now, this SEK, they put in the flooring that's over in there.
In the gray.
Garrison, yes.
Garrison,
They put
Garrison.
the Garrison in, but we did the one trial room over here. That's in there.
So your recommendation is SEK flooring.
Yes, and for all three floors, because it was gonna cost us roughly 23,000 just to put flooring down for one floor, but if he already was here with the material and the crew, he could do it all for 51. So, and we all know that inflation is going up yearly, and so we're just gonna continue to rise on that.
Okay, administration recommends accepting SEK flooring for the purchase and installation of flooring in Greyhound Hall. Any more questions?
I will just say that that is just specific to the dorm rooms too. That's not the hallway yet. We would do it at a later date, but we could probably do the hallway as a crew and throughout the year as the kids are here. So that would save us some. So we try to save.
Greyhound Hall, just for clarification, is this
the old
dormitory right
dorm,
over
yeah.
here?
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept SEK flooring bid.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Item J, approval of disposal, sorry. Approval of disposal of property. Fort Scott Community College is seeking approval for the sale of one truck, one car, and two vans. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You'll be
Okay. Okay, two vans from the, one truck, one car, and two vans from the fleet in the coming months on Purple Wave auction site. Problems with each vehicle are highlighted below. Do you really want me to read these, all these problems?
No.
They sound like they're major problems. If anybody wants this list, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. So, okay. It is recommended that the above items be approved for disposal in the manner presented. Any questions, comments, or?
Well, I can't believe Rodeo's giving up that old car.
Maybe they need to have it bronze. Okay. Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion. Oh, you want anything you have?
No, I was just telling you where that pickup came from.
Okay.
Sorry. That was a long time ago.
Any more on the vote? Okay. Okay,
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Elliott, Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Item K, approval of culinary memorandum of understanding between SEKESC Greenbush and Fort Scott Community College. Following is a memorandum of understanding between Southeast Kansas Educational Service Center, which is Greenbush, and Fort Scott Community College to identify the responsibilities and obligations for culinary courses to be offered at Greenbush. It is recommended that the board approve the culinary memorandum of understanding between Greenbush and Fort Scott Community College. Discussion.
How many years have we been doing that?
We're on to year 4 now,
Oh, 4?
and 4 or 5, and just, this is the exact same MOU that we've had with Greenbush past few years. About 3 years ago, the Board of Regents told us that we could not receive 155 money anymore from the state because culinary courses were tied to our ag program and that is not related.
It's
So
related to me.
it will.
I know of an administrator that had gone to a Greenbush meeting and made the comment that we no longer have to eat chicken at every meeting.
That's true. It is good for us. It allows the local high school students to take culinary classes. And it doesn't cost us anything, but it still provides them the opportunity. Culinary is not considered a high wage, high demand occupation, so we were denied the program. We applied at the state, so this is just a way to keep that opportunity there for students in the area. Yeah, we usually have 10 or 12 in there, and they are all high school students. It's not a financial aid available program. It's all high school students from Uniontown, Girard, St. Paul even. So they all go to Greenbush for these classes.
It is recommended that the board approve the culinary memorandum of understanding between Greenbush and Fscc. Is there any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Fewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Item L. The primary meeting area in Burris Hall is the designated space for hybrid meetings that support physical and digital attendance, such as board meetings, cabinet meetings, classroom lectures, and public meetings or events. IT currently uses a combination of a laptop and microphones on a rollout cart to support these types of events. As reliance on Zoom and other online meeting environments increase, the needs of the space have outgrown our current solution listed above. IT requests the installation of a Zoom room by a professional company to fully gear the room for hybrid meetings, allowing easier setup for events, more consistent quality for streaming events, less equipment consuming physical space on the floor, and features that are expected in a modern meeting and streaming environment. We received one quote from a vendor that qualifies for state of Kansas contract pricing as indicated in table 1. CARES Act funding will be used if this project is approved. Jason,
You have me for the next 4 items.
say that again.
You have me for the next 4 items. I have 4 items tonight.
Okay.
So-
All right.
Okay, so we just actually went through a refresh like this last year for our Burke Street and our Miami County campus to refresh the AV technology in both of those spaces for remote learning. And this company that we have here, Fscc, is now AVI SPL, did the work for that. And adoption has been very, very well received on both ends, meaning they like the system, the sound quality and the audio quality is much better than it was. Picture quality on the AV equipment, or at least the video side projectors, was better. So in terms of being useful, it has been very well received. So we would like to do that for this space as well. For classroom use, for meeting use, for virtual meeting use like Zoom, for live streaming like we're doing tonight. That would include a complete refresh of most of the technology in the space. So the TV behind you would be changed to a projector screen, a fixed mounted projector screen with a laser projector somewhere in the center of the room looking that way. It's 128 inches diagonal in size. For comparison, that's a 65-inch TV back there, or a commercial grade display. And for this size of a space, it's not well suited for that. You can't see it very well from the back. So that part would be changed over. We would replace, or actually we would reuse that display in this room somewhere. That's still to be determined, or it could be put in another location. The existing equipment that is in the room now, so we have 8 in ceiling speakers along with some microphones in various locations. The camera, there's audio equipment behind the TV as well as a computer, floor pocket cabling going into the floor pockets that are here, there, and just below you, actually, John. Anything that we can't use for this project would be used either elsewhere or in another classroom. All of the equipment that takes to make this work, so the brains and the audio equipment necessary, the amplifiers, would be stored in that custodian closet back there. There's power on the north wall, and there would be an equipment rack installed in that space that would house any technical equipment that's in there, as well as the charging stations for the wireless microphones, which I'll cover here in a second. Multiple AV inputs will be included. Right now, there's just a few because the display behind you only has about 2 HDMI inputs on it, one of which is below you in the floor pocket, and the other 2 are either behind the screen or directly below the display. But with their proposal, that would include the floor pocket there, the floor pocket here, and the floor pocket here, so we could use the hover cam that's in that room in there with the setup. So if you had a presenter up front, they could use the hover cam along with the document camera, things like that. Like I said, there's 8 speakers in here. They would be changed out to 12 speakers. There would be 9 wireless gooseneck microphones. If you've seen the city of Fort Scott's meetings, they use gooseneck microphones on their tables, and they're a lot like this. So instead of using the microphone part in front of us, there would be 9 of these spread across the table, along with 1 lav mic, which is one of those that you put on your hip and it attaches to your lapel, and then 1 handheld wireless mic for normal use. There would be 4 in-ceiling microphones for wider coverage. So in a classroom setting, right now we have 1 right there. It's called a boundary mic that we use occasionally. We had started putting microphones in the ceiling, and then that project stalled just because we had some issues in the wall over here. But those 4 microphones would essentially be these boundary mics, if you will. So in a classroom setting or a large meeting session, rather than using the gooseneck microphones, you would just turn on or have the input relay to those mics, and then you'd be able to hear that way. Bluetooth receiver for music use. Ironically, we've had some requests for that in the past, being able to play music in this space. So you'd be able to play music through a wireless device like a phone or a tablet. And from the engineer who I work with on this, he said it could be password protected. So you could limit who has access to that.
Okay.
An Fscc purchased iPad, which would be wall mounted somewhere in the space. This would be the controller. This is how you would turn the system on, turn it off, select your inputs, turn up the volume, and all of this would be automated, meaning it's programmed. You push a button, projector turns on, you select your input, you turn up your volume. Right now, a lot of that happens with that little controller that's to the right of the TV, but it's rudimentary at best. So that little white thing right there, that's a volume controller. You could turn the TV on and off with that. You can select inputs, but it's not as elaborate as what we're hoping to go with. Common, and then this thing comes with 3 years of support and maintenance.
3 years?
3 years.
Okay.
Uses, like I mentioned before, town halls, virtual meetings, training sessions. We've actually had some training sessions in that room before, but you could actually have larger training sessions in here, as well as a classroom. So additional expenses, there shouldn't be any, because when we do projects like this, they usually don't include electrical. But right above you, there is an outlet that was installed when Burris was renovated back in 2019. So in terms of electrical needs or anything out of their scope, it shouldn't necessarily have any of that. So just for full disclosure. Timeline. If this is approved, the earliest that the project would actually get started, other than actually installed, would be next summer, just because of equipment delays and availability. So this would, CARES Act funding would be used to fund this project. If it's approved.
And even though it's next summer, we can still use that CARES money as long as it's designated for this. Would that be right?
It's encumbered.
Just what?
Encumbered.
Okay, yes.
They pushed the deadline on that a few times, right?
No, the last deadline is June of 2020. Can't say the exact day.
For the rest of the CARES money.
Yeah.
The reason we have, of course, there's certain things that qualify for the HERF, which is CARES. HERF stands for Higher Education Relief Fund. As Julie said, they pushed the date back about when we use the money to basically through this fiscal year. So basically through June of next year. Of course, we're very proud of this building and the fact that our donors, Mr. Cleavers, Mr. Baloo, and of course, Mr. Burris, there's no money that went into this building except for donated money when we refurbished it, not originally. There was. This has been an incredibly well-used space since we put it in here. Pretty much there are people that request this space every day. And so right now, the limitation to the space is the technology. And so that's the reason that we chose to use the HERF funds that we have earmarked for that technology to be in here, because we just believe that that's going to maximize, the use of that particular type of technology. That's really all it comes down to. The problem is it just keeps getting more expensive and it keeps pushing back in terms of supply chain disruptions about when we're actually able to get you.
We've added some things since when COVID happened, especially not being a real strong AV crew down in IT. But during the pandemic, we did learn quite a bit about AV installation and things like that. And so if we had it to do over again, it would have been a lot different. But some of the issues, even tonight, I had some AV issues related to the setup that's in here. For example, I wasn't able to allow the speaker who had the demonstration or the presentation over CDL. Chris asked me, can we hook his laptop into the system? My short answer is no. It's not an easy thing to do. With this new improvement, yes, we could do that. We could do it on the fly.
We have a lot of outside groups that come in here and use this area that need that sort of capability.
The Chamber of Commerce has been in here for that, or similar things.
Yeah, political, not political groups, what do we call them? Yeah, when we invite candidates, the chamber. Forums, that's what it is.
Legislative forum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we Zoom this, and right now the quality is pretty poor. I mean, we don't Zoom it, but we stream it. And if we have better equipment to stream, so for people that want to participate, watch the meetings without physically being here, the quality would be much greater.
There would also, I forgot to mention, there would be 2 pan-tilt capable cameras installed into the space. Right now, we only have one, and it's not a pan-tilt camera. You can't move it around. So it's up in the top.
So you're saying though, if we do this, it'd be next year before it could be done?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Is that just getting all the equipment here, getting the, people here who would do all this? Or?
No, it's equipment availability at this point. So Crestron is one of the major manufacturers in this particular field. And they're the ones that are the biggest company that's subject to this delay on equipment.
Okay.
And so when the guy came down, or the sales rep came down, and his engineer talked about this, they said, we could do this, but the quality wouldn't be as great or it wouldn't be as close to what we have at Burke Street in Miami County right now, because they would have to put different manufacturer components in to meet the need. And they didn't feel real comfortable about that. And I don't either. So.
Jason, what's kind of your sense on the life expectancy of this setup?
So in around 2012 or 2013, Burke Street went through a similar refresh on an H323 tech. Polycomp was a major player in that. And it's lasted up until last year when we started having major problems with the system. So they could last a long time if the standards stay the same. So for example, Zoom right now is a major player. If Microsoft Teams become a major player in this, it would be easily integratable into Teams. Also, the equipment that's priced here, if this were to grow or additional pieces or inputs needed to be put in, it could grow and scale without having to repurchase a lot of equipment. Because it's all network-based AV tech. So encoders and decoders could be put in. And actually, the system, I think, has a couple more inputs before it exceeds its limit on that front. But you could still install more devices to make it work.
The only thing I would add, and this is, I don't know what you do with this, but I've watched the city commission meetings, those mics, and I don't think they pick up as well as your mics here.
Okay.
I don't know
what the city has in terms of what brand, but the Shure mics are what were quoted here.
Okay.
So that's ironic.
You're over my head. Any more questions? Comments? I guess at this point, entertain a motion to for the proposal from SKC AVI SPL for $115,275.65 for this project. AV, what is that?
Audio video.
What?
Audio video.
Audio video, okay, thank you. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
I'll second.
Then move to the second. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hart.
No rush.
Yeah.
Holt.
Yeah.
Nelson.
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes.
Elliott. Stevens.
Yes.
Okay. Just a moment, I think it's a long way down here. Any help would be appreciated.
114.
While he's doing that,
Oh,
just,
I'm there.
which
There you
is
go.
completely out of order, so I apologize for the length tonight. Luke, would you like to introduce our new basketball coach so he can go home?
Sure.
If he so chooses.
They can stay.
This is Coach Blake. This is Coach Blake Cochran. He was here,
Blake, okay.
20.
He was Michael's
27,
assistant.
yeah, 17, 18. So we brought him back. He's welcome. He's got his kids on campus now. So we're going to a tournament on Thursday in Iowa.
So if you guys see guys walking around cramping
Granted,
up.
that's them.
Did a great practice earlier, so.
Well, it's nice to meet you, and I wish you the best of luck, so.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Blake.
If you wish to leave.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you can hang on with this. It's gonna get more exciting. Okay, item M. Wait a minute. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right, okay. A disposal of college-owned supplies requires the approval of the Fort Scott Community College Board of Trustees. FSCC has a large number of off-lease computer towers, monitors, keyboards, mice, phones, projectors, and printers. A detailed inventory of these items will be presented to the board during the board meeting. It is recommended that the board approve the disposal of the broken, damaged, non-functional, and/or obsolete equipment with R2 certified e-waste disposal company, such as American Recycling. There's a lot of stuff here. Now, do we have to pay to have them take this?
Most of the time, no, you don't have to pay except for items like CRT TVs, printers, microwaves, microwaves make sense why you have to pay, smart boards. But most of the equipment that you donate in which you don't pay will usually offset the cost of what you do have to pay for. So in
Okay.
terms of the printers, most of the time our invoices don't come out to be more than $150 or less if we have to pay. So
What do they do? Just run these through a grinder or something?
they do that as well. They do, so in data destruction, they make grinders for hard drives.
Yeah.
And so we accumulate hard drives. There is an additional cost to dispose of a hard drive if it's not in the machine. So we usually take out the hard drives just to make sure the data is secure. So at one point, yes, we will be taking a board item to the Board of Trustees to dispose of those hard drives once we find a comfortable place to deal with it.
Okay,
On that topic too, someone went live with an e-waste disposal form that is on our SharePoint site for departments to fill out when they have e-waste so that we can pick it up. It's part of the strategic plan to do that.
Okay.
So this should be a lot easier to do in the future.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve it as recommended.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Okay, item N, consideration of purchase for Miami County campus lab computers. Miami County campus of Fort Scott Community College has 39 antiquated computers in labs which need replaced. These computers are used by students for completing assignments, testing, and research. The update will also help with maintaining reliable equipment for the allied health programs, certified nursing assistant, CNA, and testing that occurs regularly at the site. Fort Scott Community College will be using technology grant funds provided by the Kansas Board of Regents to purchase these computers and monitors. This will allow us to do a complete refresh of all 3 computer labs at the site. We are also going to recommend a refurbished business class option to reduce the overall cost of this project. What is a refurbished business class option? What is that?
So a refurbished product usually means it's been acquired through an off-lease program from another large business or educational institution. So typically, anything made by Dell, Lenovo, HP that's of business class quality, some company out there will take that product, probably purchasing it. They will go through it, scrutinize it, fix any issues, repair any damage based on the cost of that. Now, they do grade refurbished devices in like A, B, C, and D quality. So some things they don't physically fix, but they do fix the internal components so that it works.
So remanufacturing, basically, replacing worn out pieces and things like this.
Yes, or upgrading the RAM or the hard drive.
It's like buying a used car.
Yes, yeah.
Went through inspection and that sort of thing.
Do they have any kind of warranty on those kind of pieces?
Some of them do. Some of the manufacturers, some of the refurbished do.
Okay.
So how I deal with the warranty side is I usually buy more than what we need because the cost kind of offsets that. We have the talent downstairs to actually repair a lot of this stuff as it comes in. So if we have the parts available, typically the things that'll go bad on a computer are the power supply first. That's usually the first thing. Hard drive second. RAM would be kind of third, and then a major motherboard problem would be kind of the fourth. Monitors, if the LCD panel were to go bad, you could fix those. But to keep the cost down, we usually just buy a few more.
Yeah.
And as they
just
fail, we just part them out.
pirate those pieces. And, okay.
So the Board of Regents grant covers the whole.
Yep, the whole purchase. We have to spend it anyway.
Yeah, we have to spend it. The reason we chose this project, the 39 computers there were 2011 rollout computers, so they're over 10 years old. And in the world of technology, when they were first deployed, they were running Windows 7.
Windows 7 if you're lucky.
So
They came with Windows Vista.
when they came with this, then we're running 7.
Do
So
they still have those hand cranks?
some of them. So, you know, and from the state, when you get into the Department of Aging and needing some of those tests that the Department of Aging requires to be completely digital through for like CNA exams.
Sure.
It does create issues.
So why are you picking HP over Dell?
We don't pick HP over Dell. It just happens to be whatever's available at the time. But I do prefer HP and Lenovo over Dell, especially after 2013. I'm kind of biased that way. After 2013, Dell, in my opinion, kind of went down, but we still use them.
You're just asking.
For example,
the cost is the same.
Yeah, the costs are the same, so you're basically saying availability and the product is probably better.
Now, with the quotes that you see here, every single one of these quotes most likely has already surpassed. It's no longer applicable because this field or this market changes so fast, which is why we had to word it, or I worded it in a way. We're requesting the board of trustees approve the purchase of a minimum of 39 computers and a maximum of 42, because I may not be able to get 42 machines that all the same thing. And monitors from Newegg Business from the amount not to exceed $12,600. Because as soon as I created these quotes, I was already less, I couldn't get 39 machines because they sell that fast. Now we have two use case scenarios in which this worked well. The Harley facility on the shop floor, they use refurbished machines. They've been in that building since around 2018. And Mike Matheson, the department level, they have not had too many issues, if not minor issues, compared to what they had before. We just did this for the nursing department in their lab, and things improved substantially even with refurbished machines. So I'm a big proponent of that. I like using refurbished machines when we can in a high-risk area. Not that this is a high-risk area, but to keep costs down and you use the money, yes, I think it'll work.
I will say that the technology grant, actually, if I were to look in my board report, it says how much it is. It's either 17.6 or 16.7. I'm just like
16.7, I believe, every year.
It's every year, and so there will still be some money left. And so we're asking to cover 12.6. We'll still have to spend. There's some requirements on the tech grant. It has to be used for teaching and learning, so it can't be used for anything but some sort of classroom application, not salary.
Okay. The recommendation is we're requesting that the Board of Trustees approve a purchase of a minimum of 39 and maximum of 42 desktop computers and monitors from Newegg Business for an amount not to exceed $12,600 due to the fluid nature of available technology at this time. Sound right? Any more discussion? Smile. Did I make a mess?
No, I think you read it, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Oh, was it Newegg or Newegg? Who cares? Okay. I entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Art.
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Item O, consideration of annual camp program laptop purchase. The Tri-State College Assistant Migrant Program camp usually purchases a large number of laptop computers along with packaged hardware support for each to meet the needs of qualifying students as they progress through the program. This process addresses the need for providing the students additional experience with technology and using it to support their educational endeavors. Each student will be provided a laptop for school use for a total of 35 computers for the next fiscal year. Tutors can assist the student with basic computer and internet skills. Internet and email will be available. If the student maintains a 3.0 GPA while in camp, the computer will be awarded to the student at the completion of the program. The camp program will utilize grant funding to facilitate the purchase. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the quote from Lenovo Direct for $40,000. Excuse me, $40,841.85. Any discussion?
This is an annual purchase, so it happens every year this time of year.
Robert Nelson just asked, what is an Elite Dragonfly G2 2-in-1? Good question.
He doesn't want that one.
Yeah, but it's really
It's
expensive.
very expensive, and
I
I was
guess
really surprised.
The word is elite. There you go.
I was really surprised when I got that one back as being that expensive. It's
Yeah.
a 2-in-1 laptop, meaning it folds on itself. It's got a touch screen, so you can use it as a tablet or a computer. That's kind of the trend nowadays, especially for students. Small screen and being able to reverse on itself, so you can use it as a tablet and a laptop.
Yeah. And we're not getting that.
So
Okay. Any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Second.
Move to seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Hewens,
Yes.
Elliott. Oh, he's not Hart.
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
I am here. Yes. Item P.
thank you for your time.
Oh, Jason, thank you. Yes. Approval of exceeding the revenue. Oh, what? Approval exceeding the revenue neutral rate RNR for budget year 2023. At the time of final preparation of the board report on Thursday afternoon, we had not received the RNR rate for next year. Consistently for the last 7 years, 2016 through 2022, we have held our budget to an average of 29.326 mils. Due to this only being the second year of working with the revenue neutral rate, we don't have enough information to estimate what it will be for this upcoming budget year and determine the ability of the Fort Scott Community College to meet that rate. The administration is working to reduce our budgeted mill levy and come closer to the revenue neutral rate. However, without knowledge of the revenue neutral rate for budget 2023, it is difficult to know if we can meet the goal of revenue neutral. Administration requests prior approval from the board to exceed the revenue neutral rate if necessary, but not to exceed 29.299 as was budgeted for fiscal year 2022. It is recommended that the board approve exceeding the revenue neutral rate if necessary as explained above. Now, I read that and I think I read this about every year about the same thing. We just don't, it's just impossible to do. Is that right, Julie?
The revenue neutral rate. It is tough to get to the revenue neutral rate. You know, we, as we sit here, we're very, and Alicia, you can jump in anytime you want. We're very proud of having been able to keep our mill levy pretty flat and level for 7 years. We did get information late Friday of what our revenue neutral rate was. It is a little lower than the 29.299. We would like the flexibility to budget at 29, to have go up to 29.299 in our mill levy, but we've been carrying it if needed, and we'll do our best to hit the revenue neutral rate. Alicia has some handouts for that and other things to go with it.
I did, thank you, Julie, for that update. I did provide you with just a few things on the revenue neutral. As Julie said, actually the deadline to receive the revenue neutral rate was Wednesday, but we didn't get it quite in time. It's a very difficult process, so we're not blaming the county because it's very, very difficult. For them, they have to come up with that, obviously, for all those entities that receive taxes. On that front page of the handout that I gave you, so last year, we budgeted a mill levy at 29.299. We budget always on the estimated valuation. The estimated valuation last year was $114,037,037 $37,650. So that was what the county estimated our valuation would be. Based on that, we would have received in revenue $3,341,206. Remember that we have a $14 million budget. So what we received from the county is about 23% of that 14 million, which we believe is a pretty good return, really good return on investment. Now, what actually came in, which we don't know what the actual county valuation is until typically October. The actual valuation was lower than what they estimated. So what happens is we had already budgeted for $3,341,000, but since the valuation came in lower than that, as you see under actual, that pushed our mill to 29.304. Because at that point, we're already budgeted. Interestingly enough, the timeline is really wonky on some of this stuff. To determine what the revenue neutral rate is for this year, they take the revenue that you received last year, divide that by the assessed value that they believe that it's going to be. So again, just what they think it is. And then of course you have to multiply by 1,000 because obviously a mill is 1,000th of a penny. So if we have $118 million assessed valuation, that's what they believe, that we would basically get $118,000 per mill is how it works. So you just divide it by 1,000. That's what you get, or move the decimal place. So you the trouble is the $3,341,000, like we were supposed to get last year, we never really get that much because we don't know what delinquencies are. So there's a whole set of delinquencies where we don't get that money. And that, it's not just us, trust me, the county doesn't know that because they don't know either. So we're not exactly sure what we received last year. Some of it we still haven't received of the $3,341,000. So my point is getting to the revenue neutral rate is a difficult process because I'm not sure what we actually got before. So what we're asking to do is budget in 2023, 29.299. The estimated valuation for this year is $118,997,411. That's what they sent us last Thursday. Friday, we got it Friday. That would give us $3,486,505 at the 29.29. Now last year, like I said, the estimated valuation was greater than the actual valuation. So we run into trouble if the valuation is lower than the estimate and we did not exceed revenue neutral. We didn't vote to exceed revenue neutral. If we do exceed revenue neutral, even by $1, the statute states that you have to go to the taxpayers to a vote to get that extra money, which is crazy. I know, but that's how it works. We have to let the county know by July 20 if we are going to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And I know I gave you those timelines, but June 15th, the excess property valuation comes from the county clerk. July 20th is the last day for us to give our intent to the county clerk to exceed revenue neutral, which I can tell you that most everybody is going to say they're going to, just in case they do. Because you don't want to have to go back and literally say, I accidentally exceeded, because remember, we don't know the actual valuation until October. And like last year, it was actually lower than the estimated valuation. And you also don't know delinquencies, which also figures in here. So this is very difficult for the county. What I have also provided you, I put there, or Julie did, in the area that's highlighted, if the valuation stands at 118 million, meaning that everything in the county is worth 118,997,000. Then we would get 145,000 more this year than last year based on the 29.299. I want to caution you though, that we always budget for that 29. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. If the valuation is higher than they estimated, the mill levy would go down. It wouldn't be 29.299. It could be down to 28.09 based on the valuation. You see what I'm saying? So that is a target we can't hit. It's a moving target you literally cannot hit. It's everybody's best guess. We will not know if we hit that target until October, and even then, we will never receive all the money that we're supposed to receive based on delinquencies.
So when they have like these tax sales scheduled, and everybody comes in and catches up their taxes, so that their
Well, not
property.
everybody does, but yeah.
Well, you know, in general,
Yeah.
Does that mean you get some extra money
We
coming
don't
in?
get it all. We never did it all, but I believe, I've looked this up. So to answer your question, I'm not sure. I didn't understand it. At some point, you don't get any of the delinquencies, depending on how delinquent they are. So.
Sounds like a good deal.
I think it's called a moving target, basically. You just never know.
So if, like Brian's talked about, if it goes into a certain age of delinquency, then it goes into the county general fund.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it doesn't go back out to the public entities.
Yes, it goes.
So
to the county
delinquencies,
general
if
fund.
somebody doesn't pay their bill for 4 or 5 years and goes in and negotiates with the county, said, you know what, I owe you $100,000, I'm gonna give you 10. And the county agrees to that, they keep all 10, we don't get any. Not just we. And even if we did, so it's complicated, Brian. I'll just have to tell you, I don't know how.
That's fine. I'm sorry, I was just curious.
I did want to say that obviously I did not do this PowerPoint. This is the state of Kansas, and I thought that there was that I cited it, but I didn't cite it. I just don't want you to think that yeah, if somebody wants those, you're welcome to, and they're kind of interesting. It talks about exactly how R&R works, exactly how they figure mill, and I made several copies in case somebody was interested in going through it. It's really good.
I'll donate mine if anybody wants to.
This is Kansas Senate bill, so we call it SB 13. And like I said, I will tell you that nobody wants it. It was passed in 2021. The one thing that a lot of time gets overlooked with SB 13 is of course, this is property tax relief. Valuation of property cannot be increased solely as a result of normal repair, replacement, or maintenance of existing structures, equipment, or improvements on the property. So when your assessor comes out, now they have to abide by that. So if I put a new roof or I do some improvements to my home, like let's say I seen it my driveway, based on SB 13, they can't increase your valuation based on that as of last year. So that's just some things about SB 13, but it's difficult. The way it's written makes it incredibly difficult to hit.
Yeah, if you put it in a concrete floor, they swoop in on you.
I don't know, Jim.
They're like a vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
If you have any questions that I can't answer, I apologize.
And unfortunately, you can't vote by saying, I don't know. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay, so if you're targeting like collections from the county of 3.3 million, if you said we're gonna be at 29 point whatever mils, assuming, I mean, you're still gonna get your 3.3 million and you're not gonna exceed that revenue neutral rate.
We could exceed the revenue neutral rate if valuations go down.
If they go below the 118 million.
It'd have to go below, actually, it would have to go below last year's
Last
valuation.
year's
of
valuation.
14, because of
That's been under 14.
value. That's an excellent question, but that's why it's complicated. The valuation basically in the county, saying that everything in the county, they're saying their estimate is it will be worth $4 million more than it was last year. So for me to base mine on the 118, if the valuations would drop below the one last year's valuation, then that money would exceed the revenue neutral, and then I would be in trouble. Does that make sense?
To someone.
I thought I had it, but then I don't.
You thought-
I know where you're going with that.
I mean, because
You're saying that if you say, which is what they want you to do, what you're saying would be, if I base it on the $3,341,000, which is revenue neutral. That
Right.
means I'm not going to exceed it.
right,
I don't know where I'm gonna be
but
at.
you don't know what's at the mills at to get that number.
Exactly.
I see.
Because.
I
the
don't know what to set the
valuation,
mill at.
If it goes down, then your mill levy goes up.
Right, right. So
Yes,
the,
I see where you're coming, yeah, that's what they want you to do, but the trouble is, the mill is really dependent on the
on the
valuation.
valuation, right, I got you.
So I can tell you that nobody typically, I don't know that. That's anecdotal. When we talk, all the recommendation is you have to say you're going to exceed because you may. We're trying to hold the line, as Julie said, the very best we can in terms of spending and what it costs. Like I said, if we were, for instance, to say, on the 14 million, we need the county to pay for all 14 million. Obviously, that's not the case. That would be 117 mills.
Right,
We're sitting at 29 point, right, this year, 0.305, even though we budgeted for 29.299. So that is a moving target.
so at this meeting, we're not saying what the mills are.
No.
We're just saying
We're
we may
just-
exceed the revenue.
So we're
neutral.
saying that our
Okay.
next meeting is July the 18th.
Right.
If you guys were, and some schools don't ask in advance, but I don't know how you can not do that.
Mhm.
If we were to wait until July 18th and you told me we're not going to exceed revenue neutral, we would have one day to completely change our budget, which I just tell you is not possible. This is a very, very difficult
Julie's like, please
process.
no.
Probably when I go home and cry.
Because
Might not
we,
make it home.
we have to let the county clerk know July 20th if we're going to exceed.
Okay,
But the weird thing is, we have to let them know we're going to exceed before we ever know
I got you.
what.
That makes sense to me now.
Yes. So it's wonky.
Any more discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I'll second.
Been moved in second. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Ewens,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Item Q, approval of Hill Street Athletic Center roof bid. A request for proposal was posted in the Fort Scott Tribune for the repair or replacement of the Hill Street Athletic Facility. Public notice is included in the documentation. Multiple roofing contractors expressed interest and met with Jared to review the building, but only one submitted a bid from Washington Roofing. Washington Roofing currently maintains and repairs several of our buildings on campus. The summary of proposals is below with documentation of each following this sheet. Jared Thielen, Maintenance Director, is available to review and answer questions. My only question was earlier was answered, but you're removing these skylights. I'm guessing they probably
Yes.
leaked or something.
Well, they haven't leaked yet on us, but we've got several other little leaks in the building. I'm just afraid we're one hailstorm away from those things just coming apart. I mean, they've probably been in there since Jim, he'd probably know better than I. They've probably been in there since the 70s. I mean, they're old.
Yeah.
I remember, Jared.
I don't remember, but I know they look pretty bad.
Okay.
No.
And one of the roofing companies, he kind of, well, I'll use Mary Ann's scenario. He didn't want to play in the sandbox very well. Like, he wanted me to give him a definitive answer of yes. And he come in right around about where he should have, about 38,000, 39,000, something like that. But he wanted me to guarantee that he would get both of those buildings. And I said, I can't do that without going to the board first. And so, anyway, he chose not to go ahead and submit what he had already given.
Where's Washington Roofing out of?
They're out of Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay, I know roofing people are hard to come by.
Well, they are right now because everybody's already booked for the summer. So
Sure.
this was one of those things that,
Mhm.
obviously, when we buy an older facility, I mean, or get.
And how soon could they get on this?
They're gonna have it done by August 1st. That was one reason why they didn't go ahead and put the secondary bid in that I'd asked for, because I'd asked for a complete tear off, and another one was they were scared that we wouldn't like the price of it because 10's over $465 a sheet or a foot right now.
Yeah.
And so he said, man, Jerry, you're looking at $100 better just on the one building. And I said, well, can you take the skylights out and give us a price just to put the membrane down on there, or not membrane, but the two-part epoxy down.
Okay, so they're going over what's there, taking
No,
out.
he's gonna scrape first and take off. If you ain't seen it, Jim, just drive off the hill over there and you will see exactly, I mean, you can see it rolling backwards, the old
Okay.
material. So they're gonna scrape off everything, pressure wash both roofs, north and south. And then they're gonna apply this two-part epoxy on, well, first they'll put the primer down and then put their two-part epoxy on. And I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that we just do the 10-year, because it doesn't look to me like to do that 15 that it looks like, I mean, we're talking fractions of millimeters, and that's another $11,000. So,
You know, Ripley, 10-year warranty on there, you probably get 15 anyway.
yeah, and we're not, and that roof's old, I mean, it's super old, I mean, it'd probably last that long, it'd probably last longer, but I mean, at that, we're gonna have to have something redone in 10 to 15 years either way, doesn't matter what product you use. Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on just a
They are gonna replace those skylights with metal too.
minute. Yeah, I read that.
Sounds like 26 gauge metal on there now, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's what it is, Jim, just that old stuff, kind of like the siding
Yeah.
over here on.
Any more discussion? It is recommended that the board accept the 10-year warranty proposal from Washington Roofing at $38,950.
I suggest we accept that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens.
Yes.
Okay, this is the addendum to the agenda. Item R. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Consideration of gym floor resurface and repair bids. The athletics department is needing to get the annual gym floor resurfaced and repair of damaged wood planks. Work to begin after July 1st and complete by August 1st. Attached to the 3 quotes for this service. Good old boy hardwood floors, $12,150. Langford Enterprises, $22,075. SVB wood floors, $56,640. It is recommended the board approve the quote from Good Old Boys for the annual resurface and repair project. I do have a question. Why the huge discrepancy here on from the minimum to the maximum?
So the SVP, they wanted to go down to the actual floor and take away all the
Existing
insignia.
finish or whatever.
Yeah, and they want to take away all the lines and insignia and everything else, and they're gonna have to redo all of the FS logos and all the logos on the floor, repaint all the lines, and that's why it was so expensive.
And then Good Old Boy hardwood floors is just gonna,
He's actually gonna replace the 15 damaged planks which is a really big thing because there's some chunks on the floor missing. And then he's also gonna degrease and clean the gym floor prep for buff and coat, and then apply the oil-based sports finish on the floor.
Okay.
And he can get it done, because volleyball starts, they come in July 29th. So he'll have it done by August 1st. And he's basically the only one, because like Garrett said, everyone is getting their floors redone. So this is the one of maybe two that can come get it done before August 1st.
Where is this good old boys hardwood floors?
Lake Lottawanna, Missouri. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. But he played baseball at Hutch, and he's a JUCO guy, so he said he's not going to nickel and dime us, which truly he's not, because he said he likes getting the money from other bigger places. He likes helping the small guy. So he's a good guy coming to help.
The lines and everything, we just did all that not very long.
Well, the floor is new as
About
of
3 years
2
ago.
years ago, but the floor was used.
Mhm.
And so when they brought it in here, now this is my understanding, so look, you correct me if I'm wrong, when they took the boards up and relocated the boards, that caused some gouging of the boards, which now have created divots, am I right?
Yeah.
So that has gotten worse, and when that creates a safety issue if you slide on the floor or whatever, Blake can probably tell you. So that's why we typically have this done every single year, as you recall.
Yeah.
We hadn't for the last 2 years because we had just purchased this used floor that they put down.
But what I'm saying, we redid the lines not very long.
Yeah, we redid it. Yeah, the floor was new, which means we completely put all new logos, lines. I should have just answered your question. Yes, we did.
So, yeah. That's why there's discrepancy though, because they had to redo all the lines, and it's very meticulous and all of that, so that's why.
Okay, it's recommended the board approve the quote from Good Old Boys for annual resurface and repair project. Any more points of discussion, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we approve Good Old Boys to redo the floor.
It's been seconded. Call vote.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Ewens.
Yes.
Items for review. Can I read this? Okay, thank you so much for the honorary degree. Although I was never a student there, I hope you know how important the college is to me. Also, thank you for the many years. One something together.
We served together.
We served together. Thank you. I guess I shouldn't have something, same or something, every minute of it, thanks. Loved every minute of it, thanks. And to each of you, the college will enjoy. Contingency, yes. I should never have.
The real question, you asked it, right? You said, can I read this?
Yeah, that's true.
As it
Okay.
turns out.
Anyway, that's for Bernita. I really know Bernita. We've been friends for many, many years. She's a wonderful lady, so. Okay, administrative updates.
Let's start with Janet.
Not a lot right now. I usually let my directors kind of take a little bit of break from giving me their monthly reports in the summertime, but I will tell you, the admissions office is busy determining scholarship awards and getting students to sign their acceptance so that we can then get that information to the financial aid office. Admissions is also still having students come in for campus visits. They're texting and calling students that have applied but not enrolled, or applied for financial aid and have not enrolled. Students that have expressed an interest and just haven't come back around. So they've been sending out a lot of text messages and phone calls to those potential students. And they're working really hard at that. Texting's been working well for them. Of course, then registrar is typical: transcripts in, transcripts out. Students getting ready to enroll, students moving on to other locations. Trio in the summertime, usually at camp and have, they work on a lot of updating their materials as far as their policy procedures, how they manage their budgets. So they're all busy doing those kinds of things in the summer. Advising will also be working to put together some new procedures for emotional support animals on campus that we can share with dormitories and get ready for fall. So we're working on that too.
Thank you.
I guess the first thing on there would be the in-service agenda, just for your perusal, is included in the updates. That would be August 11th, and board members are always invited to in-service, so should be good. Kind of typical over the past couple of years, we went to a one-day in-service and then included a employee family dinner in the evenings. That's been fairly well attended and been a good event. We received our information from the Board of Regents and have put in our data and our performance agreements, which are the 6 indicators to depend whether we get new funding or not. We have exceeded all 6 of our indicators, so we will receive 100% funding from the state for the next year of any new funding. Other items that we are currently addressing, so in our office, we're working on an assessment plan for our accrediting body. Filling open positions seems to be a constant task right now. And then the other item we're working on is strategic plan updates. So those are the highlights.
For the business office, we're currently working on year-end stuff, audit. We should probably have an audit contract in next month's board packet to review and approve. So we're working on year-end, which also includes grant stuff where they end at the end of the year and that type of thing. Of course, budget, that's the big thing right now. Financial aid is posting their awards for next year, getting all ready for students to come in and actually running a little ahead on that. And then also they're looking at posting her fees award for the summer program, that now that we have classes started and gone past the certification date. Isn't that the word, Janet? I just know when it is. Then they can post those summer HERF awards. They're reconciling year-end federal awards like Pell and loans and work study, that type of thing, making sure it reconciles with the Department of Ed and reconciles with us in the business office. So kind of rounding up all of those things. The maintenance, you've kind of seen and heard what they're working on: dorm clean, baseball bathrooms. They've worked on those. I think right now their top priority is dorms and having those ready for when students come in. They've done some science lab updates as far as cabinetry and flooring in there, and I've heard it really looks nice.
It does look really good.
Yeah, that's an old room that needed some updates, and so it was very much needed. Of course, lawn looks very, very nice. I had a couple comments from community members that have drove by and noticed that they have done a lot of cleaning around the pond and a lot of updates and keeping that up to date. Logistics, they're kind of reviewing their fleet, and that's part of why you've got the 4 sale of vehicles tonight that they're wanting, and looking at the maintenance for the vehicles. Some of the leased vehicles, we have to fill out a form, a return form. So Charles is doing that. Just at each year end, we have to fill that out and kind of give the condition of the vehicle. Bookstore year-end inventory. IT, they've done quite a bit. They've done email migration, some budget work. They helped me set up a new form to submit budgeted items this year, which I think most of the admin team kind of likes. If not, they'll tell me and we'll change it again next year. But After we get done, we'll go over. But it allowed all the directors to submit their request and then us to go through it. It was pretty nice. They've worked on, we're getting new credit card processors in the business office. Some of those will be wireless, but our machines had reached the, like Jason says, the age where they were not usable hardly. And it was a free update, so we took the update and now are updating those. So they've done a lot of work, some documentation on items. Every department is kind of, the summertime is their big work season to get things done. And when students are not here, and they can get into some areas that they can't when they aren't here. So that would be us.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, that brings the last report to myself. Bailey Hall remodel, hopefully y'all have time to stop in there and maybe take a look. They did get the red iron in, and so we have a second floor. You know, it's starting to come along. I have not been in there this week or in the last week, but I believe they're starting to bring in some walls, some stuff like that. So we're starting to see some progress. My understanding is that much of the upgraded HVAC system is complete. I don't think it's completely, but they have done quite a bit there. I wanted to draw your attention to state funding. The state funding is a very complicated process. You can see here what we're scheduled to get. We have, of course, a tiered fund, a non-tiered fund. That tech grant, I was wrong on everything, $16,824 it does cover. The one thing that has changed as of last year is that Excel and CTE money, as you know, is what we sometimes refer to as SB 15 or 115. That money, we were typically lagging behind more than a semester because it had to be reported through the high schools how many kids participated. But there was a proviso stuck on the statute which said that they had to have the information ahead of time. It's a very complicated process, but nonetheless, now we lag a year behind. So we provide the service, and a year later, we know how much money we get for it. A little frustrating. I put in there, estimate about 800,000 for last year. It should go way up based on this year, but we won't receive that money basically for 18 months. So that is a little bit of an estimation. The other thing that we need to talk about is, you've heard me talk about the gap. The Kansas legislature decided that we would recenter, meaning that the Kansas students that you have, they're actually going to pay you on the Kansas students that you have. We have been block funded since 2008, meaning whatever the state enrollment, meaning my Kansas student enrollment in 2008, that's what I'm getting a piece of that block funding for. So I could have gone up and added a program and added 1,000 in-state kids, I still would have gotten the same amount of money from the state. So what we were depending on were tuition and fees, and a lot of that had to do with downstate. So they don't know for sure, but it probably will be a 3-year rolling recentering. I did agree to serve on the task force to look at exactly how it will be done. It will be myself, a technical college person, so I'm the community college, plus our KACCT director, looking at Kurt. There'll be a technical college person. I don't know whether it's 2 or 3 legislators and some KBOR staff. So I'll probably be sorry that I agreed to it, but nonetheless, I think it's important that we have a say in that. So in a lot of ways, I'm glad that they asked. We will hope for a 3-year rolling average as opposed to having to completely go with what your numbers are this year. Like if we look at the tiered side of it, which is technical education, if you look at 2020, we got hurt really bad there, especially on Excel and CTE, because high schools couldn't figure out their own schedule, let alone send students to us. But we are seeing, we believe, a great increase there. And so the recentering really doesn't affect us nearly as much as it some. Some schools, I say some schools, meaning community colleges and technical colleges, we lose up to a couple of $1 million. So basically, since 2008 until today, some schools have been overfunded based on their Kansas enrollment, and some have been underfunded, and you can go from underfunded to overfunded in just 1 year based on your enrollment. So if that makes any sense, it looks like if we were to stay the same, and I don't think we will, but if we were to stay the same, meaning our enrollment in tiered and non-tiered, we could lose in the next 2 years, which they will split, around $300,000, which means that we could lose $150,000 next year from the state and $150,000 the following year from the state based on this idea of recentering. However, that gap changes all the time depending on my state enrollment. So I don't know, but that's the long and short.
Let's go back to the revenue neutral.
Yes.
I've been doing this since 1986, and I'm not sure I understand it yet. So anyway, and also sort of along those lines, I just wanted to quickly mention, and I know I sent it to you guys in an update, is the legislative post audit, which we're hearing more about. So the legislature will do a post audit on athletic programs. They want to know for the last 10 years, how much money you've spent on out-of-state athletes, how much money you spent on international athletes, how many athletes come from your taxing district and from your service area. I can tell you that right now, if you look at all athletic programs in the state of Kansas, the number of Kansas students that serve in athletic programs is going to be less than 5%. It's going to be up. They will choose certain schools to do the post audit on. I feel assured that they will choose the 8 football schools, even though we're not a football school anymore. We were. And when they changed the rules in football, most of these rosters didn't show any Kansas kids, which was a problem for the legislators who want to know where the money is going. I will tell you, we have very few international students, and like, just so you know, I don't allow them. The reason is because not that if I was a coach, I would want international students as well, but you know that. They're already grumping about me about that. But the thing is, international students don't qualify for federal financial aid. So if they come here and leave a large bill, and I happen to be at a place where we have a lot of international students and they left us every bill known to man, we can't afford that. We need that money to make the debt payment that we have on the dorms and to make the other payments. So we literally can't afford those international students, and it frankly doesn't meet our mission, as we've talked about before, in terms of what meets the mission of a comprehensive rural community college. How do we do that and still meet the mission? So that is also tied into this recentering thing. The legislators, a certain group, they want Kansas kids. They don't want out-of-state kids. They don't want international kids. I can tell you, we can't live completely on Kansas kids. And we have, remember, a huge economic impact when we do bring those young people in here, even when they're not from Kansas. Kansas is not paying for those students, but what they want to know is what portion of the general fund are you using to not to scholarship, because that's illegal, but on that program. I can't tell you that we don't use any general fund money on athletic programs. We obviously do. I pay salaries, insurance, all those other things come out of that general fund. So when they look, is there all kinds of secondary dollars that come out of the general fund to support athletics? The answer is quite obviously yes. So it is very touchy in terms of what will happen. The headlines will not be good. Because like I said, we don't have a lot of Kansas athletes. I say we collectively in all the athletic programs in the state of Kansas, it will be less than 5%. So that will have an effect on the funding going forward, because the legislators are the ones that determine our funding. The Kansas Board of Regents is a pass-through agency. They are our coordinating body. You are the governing body. So when we talk about state funding, obviously that is up to our legislators. So just a little bit on the funding, which is fun, let me tell you. We did get something really nice from the legislature this year, and I will have to say that we were funded quite well in terms of the two-year sector this year from the legislature. We pretty much got all the things that we asked for, which is unusual because we've been cut. But that's because honestly, the state of Kansas is kind of drunk with birth money, but trying to figure out what to do with it. So a lot of it is one-time thing. One of the nice things though is they did approve for junior colleges a tax credit, which we haven't had in many years. And so they have sent a flyer that we will be using to advertise that. The tax credit is a 60-40. Now about 12 years ago, it was 100% tax credit, but that did not last too long. And so we will have a tax credit that will be advertised through the foundation. So if somebody gives us $1,000, then that is a direct tax credit to their Kansas property, to their Kansas tax. Not your property tax, that would be, everybody be all over that, wouldn't they?
Income tax.
Income tax, you will, you would get 60%, so what did I base it on 10 or 1? $600. I didn't know if I was talking about 10,000 or not. But 60% of that you would get as a direct tax write-off. So we will be obviously advertising that, and that would be great. It does say at the bottom for this credit that the minimum donation for the credit offered would be $1,000. So you can't get $500 or $20. You know, say you're going to get 60% of that as an income write-off for what you owe to the state of Kansas, obviously. Not. And then it talks about how to claim it. I have some information there again, if you want to see. It's got the revenue neutral rate timeline to exceed that. And then there's information there basically on our grants, which Ralph Beecham, Dr. Beecham is our grant writer, does an amazing job. All the many grants that we have, as you know, we run on a lot of soft money, which is what grant money is. So interestingly enough, even the migrant grants make up 10% of our total budget. So we are heavily dependent on soft money. So it's important that we keep that up. I would be happy to stay for questions. We can. If there's no questions, that concludes my report. If that's up to you.
Okay. We'll stay.
You don't want to do it? You can make me suffer.
Yeah, sure. Okay, nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
I can fight it.
I thank you because I am. Okay.